in a life map reading, you talk about them. And whether it's vulnerabilities or purpose or the very positive aspects of someone, when you point it out to them, they get it. They know. So it's not like you're forcing them to have something that they don't get. They know that they're struggling with it. And what happens is they feel seen. And it's like, oh, I feel seen. They might not say that, but they feel it. And I think that's the power of numerology. And if you have the ability to translate it to them or for them, it's empowering. And so then, if they are struggling with abandonment and the behaviors that come from trying to make connections because of that, then they know that they're doing it.
Hey beautiful soul, I'm Hayden Crawford, your host and soul guide here at the Dreemtime Academy, a cosmic mystery school for starseeds and truth seekers, just like you, who are looking at rediscovering your inner wisdom for a life of more freedom, joy and purpose. Now before we dive into today's episode, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel and click the bell for future notifications so that you never miss one of my podcast episodes of either the Numerology Show or Cosmic Conversations, or indeed some of my transmissions, which will help to activate the next layer of your spiritual awakening. I'm the author of the Starseed Ascension Guide and the Cosmic Family Oracle cards, both designed to help you to reconnect to your higher self and remember who you truly are. If you want to dive deeper, we have an online membership portal called the Oversoul Codex Collective, where you can join a like-minded group of starseeds from all across the planet as you delve into courses in numerology, colour therapy, and cosmic consciousness as well. You can also support this channel by becoming a member, either as a soul spark or a codex keeper. If you're feeling the call to join us together in person, then we also host consciousness expanding retreats in Perth, where you can really start to experience this incredibly immersive work within community environment. Once again, your support really helps this channel to grow, so thank you for joining this team of galactic lightworkers from all across the planet, helping to expand consciousness and bring light into the darkness. Welcome to the Numerology Show with Hayden Crawford. I'm your cosmic guide to decoding the power of numbers. Now, in this episode, I'm joined by the internationally recognized numerologist, intuitive and visionary teacher, Dr. Toni Reilly. Now, Toni is the founder of the Toni Reilly Institute and the creator of the SoulLife Philosophy, a transformative approach that blends modern numerology with past life regression, soul psychology, and personal development. Today, we dive deep into how numerology reveals your soul's plan, your purpose, and your emotional blueprint for this lifetime. Whether you're new to numerology or exploring your soul's path, this conversation will leave you feeling empowered, enlightened, and curious to learn more, hopefully. So welcome, Toni. It's lovely to have you here with me today. I'm genuinely excited to explore your work.
Thanks, Hayden. It's always so exciting to speak about what we do and speak to at depth, I guess. I love it.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think it is. It's when you start, going off on when you're talking about your passion work. It's just the most uplifting thing for anybody listening because, it's like people can just tell that, if
Yeah.
what lights your fire. So I guess that's my first question to you really, Toni, is like, how did your journey with numerology and soul-based healing begin?
Yeah, okay. So probably before I got right into this, I became interested in people, particularly myself. And the thing that spurned it was my little kids. I started to have kids, and I thought to myself, I actually read a little astrology book. I do believe in all of these things. I just wasn't necessarily overtly into them. But this book gave positive and negative traits of the signs. And of course, I flipped to mine, which was Aquarius. And for the first time, I read these positives and negatives. I didn't like all the negatives, but of course, they were part of me as well. But it made me just go, wow, I wouldn't have been able to tell anyone that that's who I was. But when I was reading it, it was like, that's me. So that sparked the interest. Probably then I went psycho researching everyone, my kids and my partner and my family and my friends. And from that, it led on to, or I discovered that there was numbers as well that could do the same thing. So they sat there and I looked into them on a real surface level. But later in my journey where I started to, I got very, very involved in past life regression, which was always in my case for the therapeutic value of it. And it was phenomenal. But one of the things that I had realized even before that was the power of self awareness. I felt that it changed everything because even though in my work we go into past lives, it's always for now. It's always to make this life better. This is the one that we're living. So, and I think people get a bit distracted and forget to really enjoy the things that we have here because we don't have them there. So, or when we go home anyway. So the power of self-awareness is what struck me with the numbers. And I thought, in my soul life psychology development, I thought those numbers tell the whole story. Well, to be honest, I didn't want to tell the whole story because I know that numerology is it can go so far beyond where I took it. But I thought people who aren't into this, so mainstreamers, they could get enough from just the birth date that we could be able to explain to them their purpose, why they're here, and their challenges and their vulnerabilities. Really, the main things, if they're not interested in a big exploration of it, it's like, just know this. And also, we always start with everything positive because I think everybody needs a boost and be like, this is who you are. And I also loved to tell people, explain to them, there's parts of you that you can't change. You must embrace them. And I because I think as we live, our circumstances kind of force us to behave differently. Maybe there's pressure to behave differently or do something that we're not inherently wired for. And I thought that numerology just can help them see this is what you're inherently wired for. And anything outside that is doable, but it can make you feel anxious. It can make you not feel great, make you feel oppressed. So it's like get into your power and just know really it comes down to what's easy for you is inherent. So, of course, there's the vulnerabilities as well, which aren't so easy, but it's very powerful to know what they are and help you work through them more easily. So that is I guess, my introduction to numerology.
Yeah,
Just
wow. It's interesting.
phenomenal.
There's quite a lot to unpack there. What I loved what you just said really is, you know, yeah, self-awareness, was one of the big themes that came up there with numerology for you, and it helped you to become more self-aware. And of course, until you become self-aware, you kind of like a ship without a rudder, really, and you can go round and round in circles. So it's being a foresighted Aquarian. We're moving into the age of Aquarius, and of course, you must be feeling like that you've found your thing. And I often actually find with a lot of numerologists that get drawn to it, it is something that they've been working with in previous or parallel incarnations, and it is 100% correct what you were saying, that the focus really is now. So everything that's led up to this is really just it's only really ever relevant information, I think, that comes up within a past life regression,
Absolutely.
that's going to be helpful and meaningful for the person in this incarnation. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how important you were in a previous incarnation, it doesn't mean you're more important in this life, does it?
No, no, and I think the beauty of past life regression is that people, I guess I feel like their soul's driving it, who knows exactly why they're here. So they're shown what's relevant, perfectly relevant, more than what even the facilitator could intuit. So what they get is so relevant to them. And even when they do see themselves as someone, let's say, either of importance or of status amongst their, well, whatever, their tribe or their soldiers, but they see from a higher perspective how it fits into now. And it can be two things. It might explain why they are that way now, which is positive, or it might explain why they're afraid to be that now, who they were or the way that they were before. But one way or another, something happens because their soul showed them this is what you need to know. And it makes this incredible healing where they come out of it all knowing somehow, lighter. And I think it's because when you're communicating with the soul, when they are communicating with their soul, it's the information is pure. It's for them and it's for their, I guess, their highest good or their highest purpose in this lifetime.
Absolutely. So you've actually created the Soul Life Philosophy. So can you explain, what this is and how numerology plays a role in it?
The philosophy, soul life philosophy is part of the, I guess, the overriding umbrella of soul life psychology. But the philosophy is that we came with a plan and we are living into the plan. So it's why some of us can see forward a little and some of us intuit that we feel like we're going to end up with this, or maybe we're going to do this later in life, or this is our dream, and of course it plays out. And it's like, well, those things are all blueprinted. It's going to happen. So within the soul life psychology, which is a more metaphysical approach rather than clinical, is we want to look into those things that are destined or fated, if you like, and work with them instead of feeling a victim of them. Because, of course, our circumstances in life can be really horrendous for some people. And you know what? Even if it's not horrendous, it certain things that happen affect people. It causes an emotional response. And if we can help them understand why, that's the key actually, why this happened from a higher perspective, it's like it stops being a problem. Just like that, almost. It's like, wow. So the philosophy is really to take notice of not just our soul, but you must take notice of the human experience as well. They're so valid. And we are living this life now. And I feel like it's something that a lot of people can miss, get caught up with searching for enlightenment or that there's something more. And it's like, don't worry about that. When we die, we're going right back to that. When we're here, we're going to get messy, and some of it's fun and some of it's a challenge, but we can live our life a little better if we know what we're challenged with.
And I love what you've just said there about the why. When people understand like why something is occurring in their life from a higher perspective, it's like, well, it almost takes the pressure off, doesn't it? And it makes them go, oh, right, okay, so this is happening for me and not to me. I don't have to be the victim in it, and it challenges the old archetypes and patterns of behavior that they may have then fallen into if didn't have the awareness.
Yeah.
So, what type of numerology do you use? Within your
Okay. I called my system Life Map, and I called it Life Map, your purpose in life or your mission in life. But it's based on Pythagorean numerology. And you know what? Mainly because that's the one that I was presented with or that I became interested in. So that's just how it happened. And I never really bothered to look outside of that. And now, when I did my doctorate and studied the Greek philosophers, of course, Pythagoras was one of them. I thought, oh, I never knew anything about them really, except that they existed. And I thought, oh my God, they knew everything already. They've always known everything. And made me feel really excited and happy, and also really excited to follow or to use that Pythagorean numerology in what we're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same, So I focus on Pythagorean numerology myself, and but I have an awareness of the other ones, but I don't really tap into those.
Yeah.
Um, but it's wonderful that that you got to study that on your doctorate. So your background, you are a doctor of psychology, yeah?
Divinity.
Of what? Sorry.
I'm a doctor of divinity.
Oh, okay. Do you want to explain what that is exactly?
Oh, Doctor of Divinity is where you literally studying the philosophy of life and the metaphysical aspects of life. And yeah, I think it's, if I would give it a caveat description, it would be that you are a teacher of something that you are an expert in. An expert, but something that you're very passionate about and that you've maybe developed or studied. So you're really a teacher in this. That's my perception of this doctorate of divinity, what you can do after it.
I love that. That sounds amazing. I think all doctorates should be called something special like that. It sounds so much better than all the
Yeah.
other sort of old school stuff, doesn't it? The
Yeah.
Doctor of Divinity. I love it. So, like, how can numerology help us understand our soul contracts and lessons that we came here to learn?
Oh, Hayden. So it literally, by your birthday or birth date, actually all of the numbers within our birth date, we can determine the key uh, characteristics and traits, the challenges we'll face, the vulnerabilities within, so our insecurities. And we absolutely, every one of us has them here because it's why we're here, to work through those things and have them invoke emotions. And it can show people their, I guess, the purpose. I think one thing with the purpose is people think it's an outcome, it's a destination, it's something that's going to happen. And it's like, it's not that. It's every minute of every day. That's the purpose. But there might be things within your path that you're going to excel at. Or, and it could be anything. It could be being a mother. It could be being an absolutely wonderful gardener. So it can be just many things, but it's not a destination, which I think is something that people think that the purpose of their life is. But the numerology shows you through, particularly if you get into the pinnacles, which I don't go into so much, but what's happening, where are you working at it, which phase in your life? And of course, you're growing all the time through each one. And Hayden, you know what still makes me so excited about life is even people who are not into any of this, it still happens. That the course of their life is still plays out. They learn things, they become wiser, they maybe become more compassionate or more patient, whatever, or more courageous, whatever they're doing, it happens anyway. And I love that. I love to see it. And it's like, that's no one misses out on doing what they're meant to do.
That's right. So whether you sort of buy into numerology or not, it's you're on that wheel anyway. So you're going
Yeah.
to learn whether you sort of associate numerology with it or not. And I loved what you just said there as well about um, purpose isn't an end destination. This is the day by day. This is the small baby steps. It's the journey.
Yes.
It's important to enjoy that process because purpose is such a I think it's such a fueled word in this day and age specifically, because everyone feels like that they're trying to find their purpose, but actually, their purpose is just to be happy or to feel fulfilled or connected in the moment or and to appreciate just the little things in life and
Absolutely.
and that is enough, you know, and it's you don't have to climb, you know, Mount Everest, or you don't have to set up the biggest wellness school in the world or have the largest podcast. It's not that that's the important. It's those little those little wins along the way and enjoying that. So
Think
that's beautiful.
the moments and experiences that feel meaningful to us, they're the ultimate. And as you say, they are almost always, if not always, very simple. It's the simple things that do that, give us that boost, make us feel like we're meaningful or what we're doing is meaningful or life is meaningful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's beautiful. So what do you believe then is the connection between past lives, or what I call parallel lives, because everything kind of running simultaneously, and the numbers in our current chart?
Yeah, well, the correlation that I see is it would be determined within the numbers. But for me, I didn't get right into determining how the past lives fit through numerology. But what I find is if people need to go back and work out a challenge that they're going through now, or sometimes they want to know why they love their soulmate so much and they're so in love. And it's like, how damn cute is that? We can go back and find out when you've been together before. So, what happens with the past lives is they will see something that helps them understand now. So, whether if they're working through a vulnerability, which are things like abandonment and rejection, shame, humiliation, betrayal, these kinds of things, which in some ways sound worse than they are. But if someone's going through those challenges or those vulnerabilities, they can come back into a past life and see when something similar has happened, and it might help them ease up on perhaps someone that they're interacting with in this life. Then it improves the relationship now. So, how do they weave in? I think they weave in just by showing when a similar feeling has been experienced. I think I noticed that a lot of the talk is that we're learning lessons and that they carry over. But from my observations, they don't really carry over so much as we've been here, each of us, so many times. So there's no way, and we're, as a human or the human race, we're all doing these same vulnerabilities. So if you are doing, let's say, rejection in this life, you will have done it many times before, and your soul will pick out a time or a few times when you've done it before to help you understand now, to help you get at peace with it. And I think that's really the connection. So, and as I said, I'm sure you can see it within the chart. I just didn't take the charts that far, but maybe it will develop over time.
Yeah, so it's interesting what you're saying, and I love that. And I think that the certain number patterns, from my experience, they kind of show up. So, for example, if somebody's going through betrayal, they
Yes.
may find that they've got either a 25 birthday number or 16, that will show up as a karmic number 16. Rejection, you know, and all of those as well. You know, there are specific numbers that will connect up with that. They're often the karmic numbers. Do you sort of explore the karmic aspects of the 14, the 16, the 13 and the 19 in the work that you do as well? And does that is that what sort of confirms and clarifies what they received during their regression?
Well, no, not so much specifically that we look for that in the regression, but within the numbers, and we don't call them karmic either. But these, can I say, Hayden, it was because in the development of this psychology, the mission was to mainstream it. So I tried to make the language that we used really not new agey and as mainstream as possible. That's why we don't call it karmic, but But you can see in the numbers, as you've just said, where the bruising come. We call it bruising as well, but where those insecurities come in, the emotional bruising, we can see it, and you can tell why they're doing that this time because of the number, as you say, the day they're born, or their overall life number. We can see which one they're working on and when, which is the main one. All of those things. So it's really exciting, isn't it?
It is, and I love the fact that that you transcend the woo woo sort of terminology that's associated with some of the new age stuff. Like karmic can feel quite threatening and quite daunting, and when somebody feels like for example, me, I was born on the 16th of October. I've got that 16 energy right there in my face, and so is my husband because he's born on the same day. And if we bought into that, it would be like, all right, okay, well, we're just basically we might as well go and have an affair now, and then that's the end of that. But it's actually, it's bruising is a much softer term. But I think that, calm, it's a lot of numerologists from what I've been learning through doing this show is that they have changed it from karmic debt to karmic lesson, again, as a way of softening things. But you've kind of almost taken it that one step further, which I think is great, and completely dispelling, because a lot of I think the myth associated with karma is starting to evolve in zeitgeist as well, isn't it?
And thank goodness. I think a lot of those terms got really, well, you know what, not dissimilar to how religion indoctrinated people. These terms became really negative. And if people didn't really understand what was behind them, it feels like it's an affront. So hence why, and also the karma thing became an excuse for people. Be like, well, I must have been bad in a past life, or it's my karma. And it's like, oh, you could choose to look at it like that, or you can look at it very differently, because it's not, karma's not payback. It's not, you're not paying it back from things you've done before. It's really cause and effect in the moment, if you like. So I think it's really exciting to be talking about these things in a bit of a different way.
Yeah.
Trying to, maybe it's not normalize them, but just give them a a better perspective, a more positive perspective.
Hmm. So how does numerology then help people move through emotional trauma or patterns that they've carried for many lifetimes?
Well, I think with the numerology, certainly the way that we work with it is we can point things out. And you know how we do it in a life map reading, you talk about them. And whether it's vulnerabilities or purpose or the very positive aspects of someone, when you point it out to them, they get it. They know. So it's not like you're forcing them to have something that they don't get. They know that they're struggling with it. And what happens is they feel seen. And it's like, oh, I feel seen. They might not say that, but they feel it. And I think that's the power of numerology. And if you have the ability to translate it to them or for them, it's empowering. And so then, if they are struggling with abandonment and the behaviors that come from trying to make connections because of that, then they know that they're doing it. And then I guess it's about they once you know, you're a lot of the way forward to changing things or at least accepting them. And I think that is the power of the numerology, how it can show what's to be moved through or lived through this lifetime. The past lives, of course, can come in and make that even clearer or for someone. But it's powerful, isn't it? To know yourself and to feel like they they see me.
Yeah, absolutely. I often find because I do, I know it sounds a bit of a cliche, this, but I actually do like readings for people on just on TikTok, and I'll give them little insights based around their date of birth. And of course, I can't see the person, but I always, when I get the feedback coming through, I'll have people saying, I feel seen, or I'm crying because, finally somebody understands, like, you've known me all my life. How did you know that? And I'm like, well, I'm just reading your numbers. I don't even have any body language to go off, but every single person says it. So I'm like, right, okay. So, you just know that it's real, it's true. There's no doubting anymore. It's a knowingness that comes from it because I must have done thousands of these over
Yeah.
the last 10 years or whatever it is. And so that's why I always say that colors and numbers don't lie. It's
No.
people that tend to lie, not colors and numbers. When we learn to
That's
decode
right.
the language of light, we get super accurate information.
Yeah.
So I think that, it's wonderful that it can have such a, almost like an emotional response on somebody when they fully understand. So what about your own numerology? You mentioned before that you're a life path number 5, which is,
Oh,
the freedom seeker, the feeling archetype, and the communicator. So what do your own pattern of numbers within your own birth chart or name chart, reveal about you?
ooh, okay. The five in our life map system, we did call it the communicator, and it's a paradox in communication, and I live this, so I am telling from my perspective as well as probably every number five. But yes, you can communicate and have a big old conversation, but when it comes to talking about your feelings or your needs, then it's almost the opposite. Can't say. So, or at least that's been my big experience through life. And I find with the five, in my case, it plays out in your love relationships the most. So it's like with those relationships with your partner, love partner, that's where it's really gets defined or triggered, I guess. So, and that's really interesting. So there's that. Number five, I also have, I'm born in 22nd of January, 1971. So I have the 22 day, which I absolutely love the 22 day because, first of all, it grounds me a bit and gives me the capacity to follow through with the ideas that come in. But I also have a isolated seven, and I do the same thing over and over. And in my case, I know what it is, and you still do it. And it's like, what? And my daughter, who's quite into this as well, in fact, she's very into it, she'll be like, Mom, it's your isolated seven. And I go, oh God, it is. And so,
So is your isolated 7? Because I've got an isolated 7 in my
yeah.
birth chart as well. Is it love, health, or money for you? Is it what is the pattern that
Oh,
keeps repeating itself for you?
I would say it's money.
It's
Because
money.
it certainly shows up for me around you know what, it's probably in love as well, in the way I behave in relationships. Bloody hell, it's probably everything. Because yeah, if I think about it, there are more than one pattern that I continue to do. And I remember when I left my marriage, for example, I thought I'm not going to do that again. And I did it again. And it was like, oh, come on. So it's really interesting. And of course, in the work, I absolutely adore my work, but I've always been looking for, I guess, help and support within it. And sometimes it trips me up. So yeah, my Coco says, it's your isolated seven.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is, it's one of those things that, if you've got 3 isolated 7s, can you imagine how that plays itself out within somebody's.
Wild.
And, for anyone who's watching, the isolated 7 thing is just basically when you draw out the birth chart, which is like a grid. It's like playing tic-tac-toe, isn't it? With noughts and crosses,
Yeah.
but with
Yeah.
numbers. And when you don't have a number, if you've got a number on your birth chart like the 7 in the grid that doesn't have any numbers around it,
Yeah.
then that is why it's known as an isolated number, and it kind of carries significance, so it can play itself out and wreak havoc in someone's life if they don't become aware of what that is, and even when they do become aware of it. But interesting that you're born on the same day as my mum as well, the 22nd of January. So she's an Aquarian as well. Yeah, so she's got the Master Builder as her day number as well. And she's such an empath. She never went into holistic counseling, but she sort of dipped her toe in, but ended up leaning more into her 10 ruling number, or life path number energy, which was the business owner,
Yeah.
etc. And but very much, the empath, that's what's huge about the 22 vibration, because it doubles the two energy, which is feminine, sensitive, and intuitive. So
Yeah.
you're a feeling person with a five and the double two,
Yeah.
but also very practical as well, because the 22 carries the vibration of the four. So that's wonderful that you've got like, that grounding in amongst the celestial.
Yeah, because I'm always out there as well. As in, I think it's the Aquarian energy actually. But it's so exciting. It's so exciting. Well, I guess I love to talk about my chart as well, but how it just plays out within other people with the same numbers. And Hayden, what also excites me so much, and I see it stronger and stronger and stronger now, is how obvious serendipity is. But still, I go, like, it's like, oh, of course your mum has got the same birthday. But really, it's so cool.
Yeah, I know. It's like, how did that even happen? I
Yeah.
I find that a lot as well. And I was talking to it was Emma Janetsky. Now she is a psychiatrist who's gone more into numerology, and she was telling me that what she finds serendipitous is when people have the same the same life path number time and time again. Like she'll get a cluster of reports
Yes.
that she gets in to do, and they'll all be like nines or they'll all be 11s, or they'll all have the same influences. And I find that as well, because I create a lot of reports for people. I call
Yeah.
them Starseed numerology reports, and then I get a wave of people that are, the seven energy, and they may have the Pleiadian connection, the soul origin, and I'm like, oh my God, does this? Am I doing this right? Everyone can't be Pleiadian, there's got to be a few Andromedans and Arcturians in there as well, and it's like, but I notice these waves, and it's because that numbers um, carry information, and of course, we've got astrology going on as well, haven't we? Of course, there's going to be patterns of energy and waves of energy hitting you at any given moment in time. And I think that's how I kind of explain those synchronicities. How do you explain them?
Oh my goodness. I that also happens to me. It happens in with the numbers, people that are coming along to find out about themselves. It also happens with regression where you get these patterns, clusters, as you say, the same thing keeps happening. You know what? This is my theory. I feel like it happens so that we get to really get a degree in that number or that pattern or that. It's like you keep seeing it, seeing it, seeing it, hearing it, hearing it, hearing it, and it's like, okay, you really get to, I guess, masterfully outline what's going to happen from that placement or in that mission. So that's why I think it happens, but it still makes me go,
Mm,
and interesting, you said the numbers, I'm going to say them as well, the life paths that seem to be really drawn into work in this, because I teach this solo psychology. 11s have all my life been very strong and they still are. And it's like this path is rare, but yet they're everywhere in my world and obviously in yours. Um, so the 11 is strong for me, also 33, and 7. And damn, I feel like the 7 energy right now is just amplifying. So there's more sevens or people born in 1977, 7777. And I always look at the 7 people as teachers. And they're not teachers, not traditional teachers, they're teachers of what they've experienced because they do it firsthand. And that's the beauty of an isolated 7. We learn eventually. We learn from what we did, and that's what I think the beauty of the 7 energy. So it seems to be like fronting up right now to be prepared. Maybe it's been quite distrustful till now, but it's like, okay, they get the feeling that they have to speak out now, or they have to write their book, or share what they've discovered.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
powerful times, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And I'm seeing that as well with the number seven. For
Yeah,
example, I was doing a live yesterday on TikTok,
yeah,
and I was all of them were sevens. And I was going, is everybody else noticing this? You know, the 25 7 day numbers, mainly it was the 25, which is some of that betrayal stuff, but a lot of them were life path sevens. And of course, seven is Neptune. So in the color mirrors, bottle number seven is called Neptune. It's this gorgeous turquoise energy. Now, turquoise is very Aquarian color, actually, and it relates to past life implications in Atlantis. I was speaking to a beautiful lady the other day as well, and she was telling me how the number seven relates very much to the Pleiades as well through her cosmic numerology that she does. So she's developed this whole system outside of Pythagorean numerology, which
Right.
was developed from the work through Lynn Boise, who mixes cosmology with numerology, and she's associated each of the main numbers with a different planetary system through these channelings that she's received directly through from Pythagoras, believe it or not. And she's an incredible. So the seven energy is very Pleiadian. It's very Atlantis. So a lot of the time when the seven is showing itself, it's because we may be having soul memories resurfacing for us during our timelines in Atlantis, where we may have been working with crystals, energy healing, and then we're here to then, learn through those experiences and share that wisdom again. So it's almost like there's almost like a group of these returning souls from Atlantis that are waking up and like reminding us and helping us to remember what those soul gifts are. So that's possibly another explanation for this seven being so dominant right now. But yeah, absolutely.
Time
11.
for them to be at
Well,
the
Sarah Yip
forefront.
also works with a lot of the 11 people, the 29 11s and 38 11s. So it's definitely I think a pattern, isn't it?
Absolutely. Hayden, I have to tell you, my most of my numerology was streamed as well. But and of course I observed over 15 years of working with clients before I wrote the life map. But that color you just showed me is the color we gave to intuitively to sevens. So it's just so I just love how it all weaves in and
Yeah.
you know
It's
turns out.
amazing. Well, this system was channeled by a lady called Melissa Jolly. So she's featured on the Numerology Show in a few episodes' time, actually. And she channeled this system back in 2001.
Yeah.
And of course, the turquoise ray, is this big influence from Atlantis. So the system that she channeled back then is very New Earth, but it also comes in from a lot of the wisdom derives from Atlantis and the beings that seeded the first humans in Atlantis, which were a lot of the Pleiadians, Arcturians, and Syrians as well.
Wow.
So that turquoise ray is very connected to the seven element, which is connected to Neptune,
Yeah.
of course, so that's very intuitive that you were able to, sort of bring in that new earth ray, because it is a very turquoise is a very advanced color. It's a very highly developed color, really, and on the color spectrum that's our visible form of light.
Yeah.
So it sort of speaks of trust and faith and going back into faith. That's what, the message is. So it's a great color to use for the number seven, I think.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, okay, so how do you see numerology evolving in the modern healing space, especially around emotional intelligence and self-awareness?
Hayden, thank you for asking me this question. I'm going to get on my little soapbox for a minute. I feel, and I'm sure this is going to happen, but my feeling is, and I'm going to call it mission, part of it, is this needs to be in schools. And I think in our lifetime, this lifetime, it will happen. And that way, what happens is we influence the children. So the children are self aware. They're already really emotionally different to us now because they're all born with that two energy. But so if we can teach them self awareness, to tolerate each other, because when you know that someone can't help that their number fourness makes them maybe want to sit in the corner, and Mr. Number 9 wants to have fun and there's maybe a disparity there, but you can then go, oh, the person's a 4, it's okay. Well, that one's a 9 and they need to run around or whatever. But so build self-awareness in the children. Then I know it's going to take a cycle, but those kids will go on to have kids and teach those kids self-awareness. So I think what happens over time, the cycle will be that we just become more compassionate of each other as parents, as people living really, but as parents, as for our friends, for strangers. And so that's the way I see numerology having its really big impact in this lifetime. And I'm so excited to see it. And Hayden, have you noticed when you work with young people? I'm mind blown by them. I still am mind blown, even though I know what the numbers mean and what it means to be them. It's like, what? That kid's 6, and I didn't know that until I was 50, for example. The way that they say things and perceive things, so special.
Oh,
So,
100%. It's they're almost from the future, aren't they?
oh,
A lot of them have
absolutely.
come directly in from source consciousness, so they might not have even spent incarnations in different constellations or had even any other human timelines either. So a lot of them just have to be, just to bring in that new Earth energy. And I think, that's what's really special about it. And it often appears, as you said, as patterns of two within their birth charts. They'll have an excessive amount of two, which is feminine, sensitive, and intuitive. They're often highly evolved empathically. They might feel other people's emotions. And they
Yeah.
have very different arrows of individuality to
Yes.
what we have, because a lot of them have the arrow of poor memory, for example, which is the lack of the 3, 6, and 9,
Yeah.
which means they don't learn in traditional ways, that they have to really do work hard with brain training. But what I loved about what you just said as well is like, this really needs to be, taught in schools. And coming from a futuristic Aquarian, that makes perfect sense to me because, the Aquarians are from the future, a lot of them, it's this vibration of the turquoise ray that we're talking about. So your soul has come in from the future and you want to almost create those changes, but to almost bring about this equality
Yeah.
within the way people interact with each other, knowing that and more compassion as
Mhm.
well. And I think teaching numerology in schools is going to do that because it's going to help the kids realize that from a soul perspective what their lessons are, and so they can't judge what another person's lesson is when they understand what it is. So,
Yeah.
it's like they've all come in with very different missions, different purposes, different ways of helping the collective to evolve. So, yeah, it will break down a lot of the dualistic aspects that we see, I
Yeah.
think, in society right now. So, brilliant that you're pioneering and contributing to that great shift in consciousness.
Yeah. It's very exciting. Makes me really happy. I only became aware that all of the work that I was doing was for the children, like probably only 7 years ago. And it was like, oh, it's for them. In some ways, or the development of the life map, for example. Oh, but anyway, it's so exciting. I'm really thrilled to be talking about this with you. Can I
Oh,
say
that's wonderful.
how good it makes me feel to talk to someone who understands or is so passionate about the power of knowing this, knowing what the numbers mean and how important they are to know thyself, to tolerate others.
It changes everything.
It really
It
does.
literally changes the way you perceive yourself, the world around you, and it helps you, for me, more than anything, to step out of judgment. Because for me, that's where I'm still working quite hard. It's like to release judgments, mainly of myself, but often other people as well. But when you bring it back to the simplicity of numerology, it helps you to go, why is that a problem for you?
Yeah,
And when you ask yourself that question, you're like, well, I don't even know why that's a problem for me. So I don't even know why I'm thinking it. So a lot of it's just catching your thoughts
yeah,
as they arise. And the more you do that, the less they appear,
yeah.
which is good. Okay,
Oh,
so um, For people that are new to numerology, what's the most important number that you think they should learn about first?
Oh, look, I think the most important number for them to learn about is the starting point. Learn about your life mission or your life path. So I think that's the perfect starting point. And it doesn't need to be intense. Just what does that basically mean? And then I think go from there. And I guess the thing is, not everyone's going to be really into it, but if they just learn about themselves, that is gold. So I think that would be where I would start.
Wonderful. Yeah. So the life path number. So for
Yeah.
anyone who's watching that's like a beginner in numerology, they don't really know how to calculate that. The life path number and the ruling number are the same thing. It's just different terms, as you will have learned through the shows that you've watched. But the way you calculate it is just literally, well, there's a few different ways that we can do it. And you will have hopefully learned what those ways are by watching the other conversations that I've had. But the most simple way of doing it really is just by adding up all the numbers in your date of birth and then reducing it down to a single digit, unless
Yeah.
it totals 20, 10, 11, or 22, which remains as a 22 over 4. So
Yeah.
that's actually probably not the best practice, but we're learning and we're evolving. So it's an easy calculation, isn't it? There's nothing hard about it. Don't you
No,
think, Tony?
no, not at all. And yeah, and I think if people feel drawn to take it a little further than what they can discover from the internet, for example, to have someone help you understand what the placements mean in everyday terms, feel like that's the gold that a numerologist can bring to you, because the numerology will outline what's going to, I guess, the energy that's going to take place, but to bring it into real life terms is what your numerologist can help you do. And then it's like, oh, I get it.
Yes,
Sometimes
practical
before that,
numerology.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's no use to you if it's kind of out there, sort of on a limb and it's got to be integrated and anchored.
yeah,
The wisdom that you can learn through that. So it's brilliant that you've created a pathway, a framework for people to integrate, which is wonderful. So do you believe that everyone has a destined life path then, or
yeah.
is it their free will within the framework of numerology?
Yes, okay. I'm totally going out there. Long ago now, from all of the past lives that regression and of course going in between and home. Um, the anecdotal observation and also my streamed information is that free will was it's a human concept, and we are controllers as people. Almost every single one of us will have that to some degree in our persona. And free will is just one of those things that falls into us needing or wanting to believe that we are in charge of what's happening. And sometimes that's negative because people think that they brought it on themselves. It's like, well, actually, you didn't really bring it on. It's part of what you're working through in this life. And even I like to say, rather than lessons, I say you're having an experience. It's an experience and it's a process that you're working through. It's going to give you an experience, a human experience. So, free will is a human concept. That was my one observation. A lot of people really don't like it when I say it. Um, and the other thing that certainly in the work that I did, that we became quite clear about was that, yes, everything is intricately destined. It's I think it would be impossible for us to be here just random. So it's really nothing's random. Of course, it seems that because we're living through it, but it's not. Nothing's random.
I love that take on it. That's the first time I've actually heard someone saying that. Because I think I've always believed, in free will, but then I've always, I suppose, had that inner conflict going on where it's like, well, actually, how does that work? If, if there's free will and then you've got a destiny that's mapped out in your numerology. So I've heard people explain how, how that is. how you can calculate that and how you can work that out. But it's much more easy to get your head around. It's much more simple to go, actually, no, we don't have any free will. And you might as well stop trying. You just surrender and then just let it all happen to you. Yeah.
I think, Hayden, I think that's the thing that annoys people about it is they feel like they've got no say in what happens, but it feels like you've got control because part of what we're doing as a person. So it doesn't feel like you don't have free will, but ultimately what we're doing, and you just said it, is you surrender to what's happening, and then when something, I mean, minorly happens or extremely big that happens, but if we use something minor, you get stuck at the lights, but you're supposed to be, it's going to make you late and you get all cranky. And it's like, if you just surrender, you'll know that that light was meant to pull you up for something, to whatever, to redirect you because there's no car park where you're going yet, or it can save you from something bigger, or it's not in your path to get involved in that car crash down the road, those kinds of things. So it's just
Yeah. So what
surrender.
you're saying there really is that, it's actually happening for the person and not to them. So
Yeah,
it's everything, the universe is infinitely loving. So
yeah,
if you can recognize that and know that, then, having those roadblocks along the way is actually for your purposeful good. So there's pointless getting cranky. It's just look at reframing what's taking place, surrender,
yeah,
release yourself to the outcome
yeah.
and go with the flow, and then you'll find that actually, it all works out much better for you in the end. And actually, I've been learning that lesson quite a lot recently with quite a few technical trials and tribulations, should I say? And of course, it's the initial response is, why is this happening? Why? Blah, blah, blah. And then when you look back at that in hindsight, even a couple of weeks later on down the track, you're like, oh, because that then made me do that. And now look, that's doing that. And I'm not as limited as I was before.
Yeah,
And it's like, oh, hang on a minute. I was way too attached to the outcome. And I'd narrowed my focus down to a
yeah,
point where it was just like an expectation of abundance coming in through a particular stream, when
yeah.
really, there's an infinite stream.
In its stream. And I think one of the things is hindsight is, that's where we get our realization. But if we surrender, the realization will come probably quicker and like, oh, okay, you see it as it's happening.
I think that's true. I think the
Yeah.
surrender, it's just remember to surrender. I think that's
Yeah.
it. Like instead
It's
of
easier
fighting it,
said
just
than
remember to
done.
surrender. The answer comes quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ironic, isn't it? These
It's
little life lessons. It's all this seven stuff we're talking about today,
yeah,
aren't we?
exactly.
Which is no surprise,
No surprise.
no surprise at all. So what is one of the most powerful transformations that you've witnessed through your own numerology work? Maybe in a client or whatever it is.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Hayden, can I say there's so many? There's so many that when you ask me that, I'm like, oh, which one? And it almost makes me go blank. Um, I guess, I guess I'll probably use my own. And even if I would talk about my children who, they were little when I started out on all this, so they are they're all familiar with it all. But I think that what's happened, and I can see it because they're adults now and they're living their lives and they're in relationships and observing things, and it's had such a good impact in that they see things, I guess, to an extent from a higher perspective, even within themselves, pull themselves up and like, oh, that's my six, isn't it? That's my other daughter. And it's really it makes my heart swell because I think, wow, if we teach children and they come to this awareness, then it's going to make things easier for them. So I think that's probably one of the greatest positives that I've seen. But if, you know what? I don't see anything negative with numerology or knowing about yourself. It's just good.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a powerful message for anybody who's watching who's got kids and you want to gift them with something that's going to help expand their consciousness and live a better life, a more fulfilled life, is just introduce them to it and see how, that knowingness that they have with regards to what they're actually here to do, because they're always still the biggest questions that humanity has. It's like, who am I, where am I from, and what am I here to do? They'll give your child, I mean, what better gift is there than to give your child a knowingness on why they're here? It's like freedom right there.
And even I think as a parent, if you know what your children are wired as, or their mission is, their life path number, you can respond to them in the way that they need instead of the way that you respond. And therefore, I think essentially you're potentially damaging them a little less, because that's also the purpose of life, that we impact. Damage is such a heavy tone, but we do impact them in a way that's going to help them work through what they're working through. But to be able to work with them day to day in ideally the energy that they need, or the behaviors that they need, or the softness or harshness that they need, then it's very, I think it just makes for a more peaceful home, more peaceful, more ease as a parent as well.
100%. So, what message would you like to share with people who feel stuck, who are looking for soul guidance through their numbers?
I would say to you, go and get your numbers done. Ideally by someone, but if you cannot, if it's not in your budget, then do research, because there's so much information out there. But if you can afford to get somebody who knows what they're doing with numerology, um, it tells you what's happening. You'll find out, so you essentially get your strategy. You also know, why are you blocked? Are you even blocked, or are you being saved up for something that's coming? So I think that I would say, go get your numbers done.
Go get your numbers done. And where can
Go get your
people
numbers
find
done.
you, Toni?
Oh, they can find me at tonireillyinstitute.com. Yeah.
Beautiful. So that's the best place, just to go straight onto your website and explore the amazing soul life, sort of offers that you have, which is amazing. And your unique approach to numerology. I'm sure there's going to be lots of people watching today that are feeling really drawn to you and your energy. I know I am. You just remind me of my mum when she was your age. And yeah, there's even actually you look similar as well in your coloring
Really?
and stuff. Yeah, I often find that with Aquarians. They have this certain very lovely motherly look about them. So, but it has been a lovely, discussion that we've had today, and you've definitely helped to bring us a deeper and more emotional and spiritual understanding of why we're here and what we're meant to heal and evolve through as well. And I just love the fact that that you're so awake and that you are combining some fantastic modalities to be able to guide people to their highest potential. So if you're ready to explore your emotional blueprint and discover your soul's purpose through the lens of numerology, then head over to Toni's website. I'll make sure I'll put a link in the description for you as well. So you could just look below the video and you'll find it, click on that, and you'll go straight through. And also learn more about Toni's courses, books, and private sessions as well. And don't forget, you can explore more cosmic tools and support your ascension journey with me at dreamtimeacademy.com.au, as well if you're feeling connected to the work I do. And as always, make sure to like, to subscribe, and to share this podcast with anyone who's ready to align with the magic of their numbers. I would really genuinely appreciate if you can leave a comment and to subscribe as well. It does make a massive difference in the growth of this channel. So until next time, keep following the signs. The numbers will never lie. See you next time. Thanks again, Toni.